Imagine walking into a cheap rented office space in the back of a strip mall, fluorescent lights flickering overhead, and instead of yoga mats or self-help books, you find a circle of chairs occupied by people in capes, masks, and battle armor. That's the scene a washed-up therapist named Dr. Leonard Gable found himself running, though he never really meant for it to happen. He wanted to quit therapy entirely, retire, maybe sell scented candles online. But when the ad he placed in the classifieds, affordable group therapy, all welcome, was mistaken for a safe haven for villains with nowhere else to turn, he decided not to correct them. After all, villains pay in cash, and they don't ask for receipts. And if you're still here listening, trust me, you'll want to know what happens when villains try to fix themselves. It's part comedy, part tragedy, and if you stay till the end, you'll realize it's also uncomfortably human. The first night, he had 5 clients. There was Mistress Misery, who wore head-to-toe black leather and kept sighing dramatically every time someone else spoke. Then came the Inferno Kid, whose suit still smelled of gasoline and who nervously tapped his foot like a teenager trying to stay cool in detention. Beside him sat Baron Bloodsaw, a towering brute with metal hands that clinked whenever he adjusted his chair. At the other end of the circle lounged Glamora, who introduced herself as villainous, fashion icon, and disruptor of 3 major economies. Finally, there was Kevin. Just Kevin. He said he once tried to hack into the Pentagon but got distracted by cat videos, and now everyone just ignored him. Dr. Gable started with his usual calming therapist voice, though inside he was panicking. So, he said, this is a safe space. No judgment. Why don't we start by sharing what brought us here tonight? The room went quiet, except for Inferno Kid's tapping foot. Then Mistress Misery sighed so heavily it rattled the blinds. Fine. I'll go. My parents never hugged me. Not once. They raised me on sarcasm and disappointment. Is it any wonder I built a laser that makes entire suburbs feel the emptiness of my soul? Baron Bloodsaw grunted. Please. You think that's trauma? I grew up in a circus sideshow, forced to fight bears for scraps of food. I ate sawdust to survive. That's why I turned my hands into chainsaws. Childhood defines destiny. Chainsaws are tacky, Glamora interrupted, inspecting her nails. I was abandoned at a Versace store when I was 3. Do you know what it's like to be raised by mannequins? That kind of emotional neglect shaped me. Also, my plan to bankrupt Paris Fashion Week is genius. If you gave me a TED Talk stage, I'd bring the house down. From there, the night spiraled. No one wanted to process or heal. They wanted to compete. Who had the darker childhood? Who had the bigger trauma? Who had the most original evil plan? Kevin, desperate for attention, blurted out, "My mom didn't let me watch Power Rangers, and I think that's why I became, well, me." Everyone groaned. He sank lower in his chair. Dr. Gable tried redirecting them. The point of therapy isn't to one-up each other, it's to... But Inferno Kid cut him off. Wait. Can we vote on whose trauma wins? By the end of the session, the villains had drawn up an actual scoreboard on the whiteboard. Trauma Olympics, they called it. And instead of feeling exhausted, Dr. Gable felt something he hadn't felt in years, curiosity. Because in their ridiculous, petty competition, he saw something raw. These villains weren't just caricatures of evil. They were broken people who'd taken the worst parts of their pasts and dressed them in capes and weapons. He decided he'd keep the group going, even if it wasn't therapy in the traditional sense. He wanted to see where this strange circus would lead. The following week, they returned, uninvited, but eager. This time, they demanded structure. Glamora wanted PowerPoint slides for her evil plan presentation. Baron Bloodsaw insisted on telling his story with interpretive chainsaw noises. Mistress Misery requested mood lighting. And Dr. Gable, instead of fighting them, leaned into the chaos. He gave them space to perform, to outdo one another, but he also slipped in questions like, what did that moment feel like, and what were you really looking for back then? It was clumsy, awkward, sometimes hilarious, but slowly the sharp edges softened. The villains began admitting things they never said aloud in battles against heroes. Inferno Kid confessed he never wanted to burn anything, he just wanted people to notice him. Glamora admitted her obsession with fashion was less about vanity and more about being seen as beautiful when she'd been abandoned as ugly trash by her parents. Baron Bloodsaw broke down, admitting the chainsaws weren't strength, they were armor to hide a little boy who was once laughed off the stage. Even Kevin had his moment, whispering that maybe he wasn't cut out for villainy at all, but he was terrified of being nobody. Somewhere between the jokes, the absurd presentations, and the rivalry over whose pain was more cinematic, a strange bond grew. They stopped rolling their eyes when someone got emotional. They started listening. They even clapped, and Dr. Gable, who once thought he had nothing left to give, found himself inspired. Therapy wasn't about curing evil or erasing the past, it was about creating a space where even people dressed in capes and covered in scars could feel human again. By the end of their 6th session, Mistress Misery said something that stunned the room. Maybe, we don't have to destroy the world to prove we matter. Maybe surviving it together is enough. No one made a joke. Not even Kevin. They just sat there, silent, letting the words settle. And for the first time, the group didn't feel like villains competing for attention. They felt like people, broken but healing. If you're still here listening, here's the truth. We all wear costumes, we all compete for validation, we all want our pain to be seen. Maybe you don't have chainsaws for hands, or a lair under the volcano, but you know what it feels like to be overlooked, rejected, or unloved. And if they can learn to turn that pain into connection instead of destruction, maybe we can too. That's the story of Dr. Leonard Gable's group. Therapy for supervillains. A ridiculous idea, sure. But maybe also the best one he ever had. And maybe, if you've made it this far, it's the best one you've heard today.